Did you know that the air inside an airplane can actually steal your child's deepest, most restorative sleep? It's true. Traveling with kids can feel like rolling the dice, but it doesn't have to. Welcome to Sleepedia, a corner of the internet dedicated to the science of sleep and circadian rhythms. In this explainer, we're going to decode the biology behind why your little one's sleep falls apart on vacation and give you a science-backed toolkit to make sure your next trip is a dream.
Oh man, we have all been there, haven't we? That flight where your sweet toddler suddenly decides they're a WWE wrestler in the aisle. Or that beautiful vacation where your baby's new favorite hobby is screaming at 2 a.m. It's pretty much a parenting rite of passage.
But what if the answer wasn't some random travel hack you saw online, but was actually rooted in biology? That's what we're going to dig into. We're going to look at the real science of what's happening in their little bodies and lay out a clear plan to make it all better.
First things first, the flight. This is the first boss battle, right? And it's not just about being stuck in a seat for hours. There are two big, invisible things happening to your kiddo: the pressure in their ears and the very air they're breathing.
So, you know that classic advice to feed your baby during takeoff and landing? Well, there's some really cool science behind why that actually works. Every time they swallow, it activates this tiny muscle that literally pulls open their eustachian tube. Poof! The pressure equalizes. It's such a simple little thing with a huge impact. And this is so important because it's not just about preventing a little earache. No. It's about stopping a full-blown hormonal meltdown before it even begins. That ear pain causes their body to release the stress hormone, cortisol. And once their system is flooded with cortisol, it's pretty much game over for sleep, even if they're totally wiped out.
Let's talk about that other invisible force on a plane. 8,000 feet. That's the altitude your body thinks it's at inside a pressurized cabin. We adults, we barely notice. But for a tiny little body, that thinner air is a total sleep thief. And here's the real aha moment. Your child might look like they're sleeping for hours on that flight, but their brain isn't. It's working overtime just to breathe, which means it can't get into that deep, restorative sleep. It's just junk sleep. And that is the scientific reason they turn into that classic, overtired, wired but tired little gremlin when you land.
All right, so let's get a little more specific here, because this whole low oxygen thing, well, it hits infants and toddlers in totally different ways. Knowing the difference is going to be key to helping them through it.
You can really see here how much more vulnerable babies are. Their little rib cages are super flexible, which is cute, but it also means less support for their lungs. And their oxygen reserves? Think of it like a smartphone with a tiny battery. It just runs out way faster. Their whole body is basically an overdrive with way less backup.
Now, for toddlers, it's a different story. The altitude attacks their REM sleep. And REM sleep is basically their brain's emotional reset button. It's where they process feelings and frustration. So when that gets cut short on a flight, they literally land with no ability to cope. This explains those legendary baggage claim meltdowns from a kid who technically slept the whole way. Deep breaths. You made it through the flight. But now, you face the final boss, jet lag. And the secret weapon here is what I call the dual sync method. We're not just resetting one clock, we're resetting two.
This might be the most important concept in this whole explainer. Your child doesn't just have one body clock, they have two. There's the master clock up in the brain. Think of it as the CEO. It takes its orders from light. Then you have all these worker clocks all over the body, in the gut, the liver, and they take their orders from food. The only way to beat jet lag fast is to get the CEO and the workers on the same page.
Here's a little pro tip. You can actually get a head start on jet lag before you even pack your bags. For a few days leading up to the trip, just
Nudge their whole schedule. 15 minutes here, 30 minutes there, always in the direction you're traveling. You're gently easing their body into the new time zone instead of just throwing it into the deep end.
Okay, so for that master clock in the brain, the CEO, light is everything. It is your absolute #1 tool. You have to be a light manager. On the plane, mimic the destination time. When you land, blast them with bright morning sun to scream "wake up" at their brain. And then in the evening, you become the light police. Dim everything way down to let that sleepy hormone, melatonin, do its thing.
And now for part 2, telling all those worker clocks what to do. And you do that with food. As soon as you can, switch to local meal times. And that first breakfast at your destination, make it count. A good protein-rich breakfast is like an anchor meal. It drops an anchor right into the new time zone and tells their entire metabolism, hey, we live here now.
All right, we've got the science down. Now let's talk practical stuff. What gear do you actually need? And what's the game plan for when you get back home? So think of this as your science-backed travel toolkit. Every single item here has a specific job. The privacy tent? That's your light controller, creating a pitch-black cave anywhere. The white noise? That's your cortisol blocker, masking jarring hotel sounds. And an inflatable bed that lets them lie flat? That's a game changer for getting real quality sleep on a plane.
Final leg of the journey, coming home. That post-vacation sleep hangover can be brutal. The absolute fastest way to fix it is to go right back to your home anchor. And that anchor is their normal wake-up time. I know, it's so tempting to let them sleep in, but don't do it. Wake them up at their usual time, get them in the sun, and it sends a massive signal to their brain. Party's over, we're back on schedule.
So you see, it's all about making that shift, right? From just surviving family travel to actually managing it with science. Once you understand the why, the cortisol, the thin air, those 2 different clocks, you're not just guessing anymore. You have the power. You have the tools to handle any time zone and turn what used to be a travel nightmare into, well, an actual dream.